right, hey, it's DROdio with Storytell, and I'm here with our principal engineer, Aaron, and this video is about the next version of Storytell that we are building, and it's meant for current Storytell users who understand the current system, but if you've never used Storytell, you might find this interesting and have some feedback for us. We love to build in public, so this is an attempt for us to share our thinking and get some feedback from you, especially our core users. So Aaron, I'm gonna let you take it away, and maybe you can also start by mentioning what we're not going to be looking at today. So for example, the new chat section, I know that we're pretty happy with like the chat experience and I can show that, but that's not going to be a part of this video today. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, thank you, DROdio. Yeah, we're going to be focused mainly on managing permissions and knowledge and personalizing your Storytell experience. And so we're going to start our tour looking at the knowledge section. Knowledge is where you can upload one or more documents. It could be a Zoom call, a PDF, Excel file, or something else. And one of the key changes that we're making here is the addition of labels. And so by assigning a label to a document, it becomes easy to reference that document or that collection of documents in a chat. And it also makes it easy to manage permissions to that group of documents. And so we're going to go over here to teams, and we can see a list of various teams that we can add one or more people to. And you can see on the right here that a team can have access to one or more labels. Now, two teams can share access to the same labels. So maybe there's a policy and procedures document that is applicable to sales and marketing, and they can both be granted access to that by giving the same label to two different teams. Now, once you've uploaded knowledge and you've added or granted permission to that knowledge, you can chat with that and just have a one-off simple chat. It's easy to reference that knowledge by connecting your chat to the label. But if you have a need to create a scope of knowledge and continue to have multiple chats with that knowledge, you might enjoy projects. And so a project is a container of knowledge, and that can have individual documents or it can have individual labels. And so, for example, our Q4 marketing campaign project can have various documents and labels added to that. And so we can continue to have multiple chats with the same group of knowledge. So we don't have to create this data container again and again and again, knowing that we want to have a lot of chats related to our Q4 marketing campaign.
And Aaron, there's one quick thing that I want to do here to kind of contrast what you're showing with what exists in production today around labels and knowledge. So I'm just gonna, you can keep showing your screen. On my screen, I'm just gonna pop over to the current production version of Storytell, where we have this concept of a collection. And so in our chat today, all the content here might be a bunch of detail in the collection that I'm referencing, or here's maybe a specific file that I'm referencing. And so this is great, but right now files only live in one collection. And so what we've heard from our users is hey, I want to be able to label my file in a number of different ways, like Aaron is showing here, which provides a much more flexible way to effectively assemble these labels into a container, which is a project here, to be able to work with them. So Aaron, am I describing that accurately?
Yes, I think that was well said. Thank you.
Great.
Now, labels, there are two ways that you can manage labels. One is I, as a user, can create a label that is only visible to me. And so I have the freedom to kind of create ad hoc labels and temporary labels or permanent labels that only are visible and accessible to me. However, an organization, an admin, might want to create labels that are available across the organization. And so this is our plan to prevent kind of label soup. That there can be shared labels that work for everybody, that are well structured and well organized, but I still have the ability to create an ad hoc label for some task that I only want to do today. And DROdio won't have to see my temporary tags in his list of labels.
And we can think about this as like an organizational taxonomy that could be created by an admin user in our system, or we can set permissions about that. But like Aaron is saying, we've really heard from users, hey, I'm scared that if I label something as marketing, and Aaron labels it as marketing strategy, and we're both meaning the same thing. Now we've got this label soup, like you just said, Aaron. So this is a way to have that company-wide structure and taxonomy while allowing the flexibility for individual users to also label things for themselves. So we'd love to get feedback on this concept.
Thank you. Now, while we're looking at managing your organization, there are some other things that might be of interest. We're going to work over here to the model access section. And we've heard that some organizations don't want data to go to certain models. For example, DeepSeek might be a model that for various reasons you don't want your organization's data to be made available to. And so on this screen, an organization admin can curate the models that the Storytell model router will be allowed to use for all users in your organization. Now, as we move over to content sharing, we have the ability to share content with select partners. And so maybe you're working with an external marketing agency and you want them to have access to some of your content. And so anybody who is able to, who has an email address with one of these domains would be able to have access easily with low friction to the content that you've granted access to, for example, through a team. You're also able to select default visibility for your content. Maybe you want it to be private, maybe you want it to be public. And we're considering many other content sharing rules. For example, perhaps with this external group of users, you want to have specific prompt instructions. Maybe you don't want to disclose the exact revenue of some of your clients and you want to use relative measurements for any questions asked by this external group of people. And so content sharing and the rules that apply to those you've shared content with is something we're really putting a lot of energy into. Now, integrations and getting knowledge into Storytell with low friction is incredibly important. And this is something that we've been working on for a while, and we're going to be excited to release soon. And so this is an example of how you might set up some integrations. For example, at Storytell, we use GitHub and we use Slack in addition to some other systems. And we are champagning our own product and getting our code or our tickets or our customer feedback into Storytell so we can use Storytell to digest and find these insights is very helpful. And so this is a list of integrations that we are working on. And we also have the ability to set up custom integrations where that might make sense. And so, DROdio, is there anything else that you'd like to add on this screen?
No, I think the only thing would just be to the extent that you have an opinion about what you would like the initial integration to be, we'd love to hear about that. We are tracking that. I've heard that from some of you, but really want to know what you'd like to see first.
Moving over to the security tab. Here we present various options for enterprises to connect their SSO or get API keys for those developers who want to use our APIs or our SDKs directly, and also some information about how you can embed Storytell on your website, which is also documented in our docs today. Now, as we head over to usage and billing, here we show the seats that are available to your plan, how many tokens you've been using, and how much data you've stored, as well as a list of the top 10 users. Now, as you go to manage your users, you can head over to team members. Here on the team members, you're able to invite a new user by putting their email in directly and sending off an invitation. And you're able to manage users as you need to change their access, perhaps to bump them up to an admin role, or maybe to offboard them. And so here we can see a list of those users who have been invited but have not yet accepted, those users who are using the system, and also the last date that they were active in the system. And finally, in the organization management area, we have the ability for you to name your organization and register one or more domains that will allow people to auto join your organization. And so at your organization, perhaps you have users who have different email addresses through some acquisition, or maybe you just have multiple brands under your domain, under your organization. Here we can add one or more domains, and when a user with that email address signs up, they'll automatically be granted access to your Storytell. And from there, you can organize them into a team that gives them access to one or more labels, which allows them to chat with the knowledge that you've allowed them to have. DROdio, is there anything that you'd like to add in this section?
The only thing that I would mention is in team members. Aaron, you mentioned adding people via email, and we've also been discussing the ability to add through organizational roles. And so that's the kind of thing. Also, if you wanted to add the entire sales team or something like that, we'll have scalable ways to be doing that as well.
Now, something else that we're really excited about is personalizing Storytell for you. And so as I move up into my account profile area, not only will I be able to do things like tell Storytell my name and change my email address and pick my picture, but of course I'll be able to choose, do I want light mode or dark mode? Or maybe I want to change the font. For example, I'm a dyslexic person and I might enjoy the dyslexic font option, which might make it a little easier to read for me. Now, as we move into capabilities, here, Storytell will automatically learn and change various settings to tune the experience for you. However, if you want to take control, you could say right from the beginning, as I've signed up to Storytell, I'm an advanced user, I know everything about AI, and I don't want additional guidance and help. But as a beginner user, you might find Storytell is automatically enhancing and improving your prompts, for example. This feature actually propagates throughout the entire system, and there are many things that Storytell does in the UI and in the backend to tune for your familiarity with our platform and also your level of experience with AI in general. For those users who like to be on the bleeding edge, you'll be able to opt into our preview features, and we really appreciate it when you do, and when you take the time to give us feedback, which you'll be able to do down here on the bottom left at any time. And so if you're on the edge, join us, enable this feature, and you'll get access to the things that are in preview, and we would appreciate your feedback. Similar to this AI experience setting is how familiar are you with our platform? And so you'll be able to tune, and Storytell will also adjust this in the back end if you haven't taken manual control. But you'll be able to tune the experience. For example, if you're new to Storytell, you'll see more tips and hints. If you say you're an experienced user, you won't see guidance nearly as much. But even an experienced user might forget the keyboard shortcuts. You might not know this about DROdio, but he is amazing at finding and optimizing the smallest keystroke, the smallest movement when he uses the computer. But even DROdio might forget what keyboard shortcut does something. But if he's got them all memorized, he can hide the keyboard shortcuts and just simplify the UI further. Now, we showed earlier that an organization can allow or disallow models based on their policies and needs, but users might also have their own needs. So if I'm part of an organization that has not allowed DeepSeek, I would not have DeepSeek as a personal option here. But maybe my preference is that for one reason or another, I just don't seem to ever like what I'm getting back from Claude 3 Haiku or Gemini 1.5 Pro. And so I would be able to go in here and just say, hey, Storytell, I know your model router is awesome, but just don't give me these models. And so users will be able to remove models that their organization has allowed to their own preferences if they choose. Now, personalizing Storytell to work exactly the way I want it to is one of my favorite features. And that brings us to the instructions tab. This is where I can go in and I can provide instructions that are going to be given to the model regardless of if it's Anthropic or Gemini or DeepSeek. And I can say, I always want you to reply in Markdown or whatever my preferences are. So these global instructions will automatically be sent for every prompt, regardless of the model, regardless of the task. But one of the really cool things about Storytell is that our model router classifies the interaction you're having into the type of task we believe you're performing. And that allows us to route you to the right model that we observe is going to be best at performing that task. And so I can also go in and say, look, whenever I'm doing a comparison task, I always want a table, or I always want bullet points, or whatever my preferences are. And so based on the task, you'll be able to go in and say, and personalize the instructions for that type of task. For example, in content creation, I probably want very different rules than something I'll do when I'm having Storytell help me with a programming task. And so over time, you'll be able to personalize Storytell to kind of work exactly the way you want, when you want it to work that way. But getting started can be quite easy. Let's say that I am an engineer, as I am. I can go in and apply this template, and this will automatically add instructions for global instructions, programming tasks, and analysis tasks. And so I'm going to go ahead and apply that, and I'm going to go look at the programming tasks here. And now we can see this is from our template to help you get started. And you'll see whenever I'm performing a programming task, I'll always want to make sure that we're including appropriate design patterns, we're considering the separation of concerns and solid principles. Now, an executive might have very different preferences. And so when we go to the global instructions for that person, we can see, let's focus on strategic implications and high-level business impact. And so this is a helpful way for you to get started and then further tune Storytell to work exactly how you want it to work for the task that you're performing. DROdio, is there anything else that you'd like to add before we move on?
Oh, this is just so exciting to see, Aaron, and this is coming directly from user feedback and the ability for Storytell to really learn who I am and be tuned for me. This concept of really humane technology and humane design and making sure that AI is enabling you to be a limitless version of yourself is just so core to us and what we're building. And seeing this, Aaron, is just makes my heart sing. So can't wait to see what users think about this.
Neither can I. And so lastly, we'll go over here to the activity tab, which just allows me to see how many conversations have I had in the last 30 days, how many tokens have I used, how much data have I uploaded, and I can quickly jump to a file that I've added or a conversation I've had. And that rounds us out. Other than, I suppose, making sure that you can search easily, you can always create a new chat easily, and again, provide us feedback very easily. So awesome. Thank you for taking the time to look at the tour. Back to you, DROdio.
Thank you, Aaron, for this. So we're going to be working with some core users literally later today, and so this video is an opportunity for you to see what's coming and start to think about what feedback you have. We're also going to post this publicly, so if you don't know the Storytell interface, but you're curious and excited about it, you can start to use Storytell in production at storytell.ai. I'm going to go back on my screen to what is in production today and just reiterate, we think that we're doing a pretty good job of actually answering your complex queries. And so this demo that Aaron just showed does not really focus on the chat experience, but as I'm showing here, currently when you ask a question, and you can ask a question of relative data sets, we show the reasoning that we're using to answer that question. We show the limitations of our ability to answer it. We give you the answer. We tell you other things that you might want to consider, questions you didn't ask, but you might want to ask based on the question that you did ask. We show you the story tiles, which is the source data that we use to answer the question. And we give you a lot of functionality to get more from the answer, to be able to explain it to me like I'm 5 years old, or like I'm in middle school, or get more detail on the answer, or rewrite it for a different audience, or analyze it if it's a conversation that your team had, what met or unmet needs were being shared, or you want to ask a follow-up question about this answer. So there's a lot that we already have here, very, very usable today. And really this demo that Aaron just did is showing the different way to structure this data in terms of labeling, so that you can just really do a lot more of this complex relational asking of questions. Okay, Aaron, I think that I've gotten a summary there. Is there anything else that you want to add before we stop this?
I would just say we're building fast, and we can't wait to put this in your hands and get your feedback. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay, I'll stop the video here. Thank you.